Hey everybody, this is Rob. This is Bob here from Crazy TV Talk, and we are doing yet another amazing interview. And this is kind of a wrap-up series for the Vancouver Web Fest. We've basically chatted with the two ladies that have organized and put on the whole show, and now we're going to be talking with somebody who is integral to making the show cool. He definitely is the cool meister. And with that, I'm going to throw it over to Jay Dean to do the introductions and get everything rolling.
Hey, Bob. It's good to be with you again. It's always be good to be talking Crazy TV Talk and the Vancouver Web Fest 2015. We had such an amazing time there. We had a great opportunity to really interview so many people, whether it was creators or platform developers or actors, or it didn't matter who really. But there's only certain people you can interview while an event of that magnitude is going on. So we finally get to talk to the guy behind the lady, the guy who did all the IT at it, did all the video at it, who set up the system and ran it, which is comparatively different from last year's event. He even took on more this year. We're going to talk to Myles Liversidge. Hey, Myles, thank you so much for coming on.
Well, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, it's really exciting for me as a tech guy and as a nerd, and Bob's a bit of a nerd and a photographer and a tech guy too. So we get to nerd out for the next kind of hour, really, which is great, and learn a little bit about what you've done there. How are you feeling? A week later, how are you
I'm
feeling?
feeling a little more rested, anyways. So that's
Nice.
good. There was definitely a lack of sleep going on, but no, it's good. There was glitches and things, and we talked to people about it. But the thing about that, of course, is that no one else really knows how things are supposed to look.
Yeah.
So the little things that go on, it kills you when they happen, but no one else really notices. So,
Exactly.
there was some stuff that goes on, but it was overall we're very happy with what happened. So.
Oh, that's funny because that was going to be my first question. Jeez, he's good. Yeah, you know exactly what these guys are going to ask first. When did you have the major crash? When did you have the death?
Was that like first day jitters kind of a thing that you were rolling out, or was it?
No, honestly, actually, everything flowed really smoothly right until there was a couple of little glitches on the Sunday. But yeah, I mean, the most technically advanced portion of the show was, of course, the award ceremony, and there was a couple of things that happened there that we hadn't foreseen. But for the most part, like I actually downloaded this. For the actual technical presentation portion of it, you have like the logo on the screen, and then you do a crossfade into the Blu-rays, and then you crossfade back into your sponsor stuff. And I actually downloaded this free piece of software called Screen Monkey, and because the guys who did it last year, the IT people, they had this this whole presentation software that worked on the Mac, and I could not, for the life of me, find anything that was comparable on the laptop for a PC. And then I discovered these guys who were they really wanted to put on a good worship service at their church in the UK, and so they developed this piece of software called Screen Monkey. And yeah, you just set up all of the stuff you want in there. It takes about 1 million different kinds of media, anything you want to do, and all you got to do to fade from one to the other is click on it. You set up your transitions. You set up, automatically after this plays, this comes up on the screen, and so it was fantastic. It saved my butt. It was great.
Well, as it says, necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly, and there was a lot of mother of invention for me over the last little while. I did a lot of learning.
Nice. So do a little comparison for us. So last year you were at a totally different venue, and you're saying that you had somebody who was running some of the transitions and stuff. Now, you had a few roles. So your first role was taking the content and making it standardized in terms of image and sound in order to play back for the screenings.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about that for us.
Well, yeah, I mean, this was actually something that Suzette had gone to a few festivals, and one of the things she had experienced when she was there was people who were like they'd set up the festival and have the this web series up on the screen, but what they'd have them saved on the hard drive, and have a laptop and clicking on the series to make it play, or they'd even be streaming it live from YouTube as they were trying to do it. So they were getting significant pixelation. Sometimes they couldn't air something. So we didn't want any of those kinds of things. And talking about the necessity, I mean, the other invention, I was terrified the first year of the technical requirements of what was going to be, like, I've never done something like this before. So I thought, well, what's the best and easiest way to make sure that there's no flaws? And what I did was I realized that probably the best way for us to do that was to put it on Blu-ray. So what we did is we got the providers, the content providers, to send us the 2 or 3 episodes or 1 episode that they wanted in 1920 by 1080 in H.264 codec. We were hoping for a minimum of 10 megabits streaming, but it was, some of them weren't that high quality. But bottom line is they all ended up looking really good. So what I did is I took them, once I got all the content and once it was determined what the blocks were going to be, I would take the series that were going to be in this particular block and I'd put them into a nonlinear editor. I use Vegas Pro. And I would put them all back to back, put a little break in between them, and then take a look at, like, because everybody does all their own color balancing and things like that, that was not really a concern. But and internally they will balance for their series or for their particular series, but series to series the sound levels are totally off. Yeah. So I didn't want it to be like you were watching, you know, TV and a commercial comes on where all of a sudden, you know, you had a nice volume for the TV show and now all of a sudden you're being blown out of the room because the commercial is super loud. So what I did is I just went through and did the audio balancing on them. Basically, you know, this series needs to be go up like 6 decibels. This series needs to go down 2 decibels, so that all the conversation hit the same level. Now the sound effects may be a little louder, a little quieter from series to series, but I wanted the actual conversation to typically hit the same level on the decibel meter.
Wow.
So
that's a tremendous amount of work that you did. And last year, how many shows were there?
Last year, I think there were 76.
And this year?
This year there was 63. There was supposed to be 64, but one of the series had to drop out. So yeah, so we had 63 series, but it worked out to 900 minutes of content. So we basically had 9 blocks, about 100 minutes long. So, I mean, the good thing is, once you get a block in or a series in there, and you can see what their audio levels are, you can balance that out. But even so, sometimes the conversation in one area is, because these are done on a budget, sometimes the sound's not fantastic. But you don't want it to be, you want to, you know, allow these guys to put their best foot forward. So sometimes you got to, like, pump up the conversation in one area because it's just too low for people to hear. So you got to ramp up in this one. So yeah, you'd end up with like this audio meter that kind of went like this as you were trying to balance people's levels.
And everybody listening should, like, really keep in mind here that you're doing this for a presentation on, what is that? Is that a 20-foot screen? Like, how big is this?
It was a 20-foot screen.
So a 20-foot screen. You're in a big hall, so you're doing audio for that. And where most people are watching these web series, on their tiny laptop or tablet with their headphones in.
Yeah.
So when you're watching it on your laptop, you're not going to notice that you know, the quiet stuff, because it's in your head, it's in your earphones. You're not going to worry about that.
And your earphones are designed
to balance it out and to equalize it. And the moment you put it on a big screen and put it in an open room, you're going to notice that. So did all the web series give you a little extra credit for audio output, or a little output audio by Myles just on the end of their credit sequences? Just for a little...
Yeah. And the reward for saving our ass goes to Myles again.
Yes.
I don't think that they, most of them, I don't think, had any idea that we did that. But we just, I mean, bottom line is, we wanted to make sure, like, these are these people's babies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we didn't want anything to come across bad. We wanted it, when they're sitting in the audience watching their stuff on a 20-foot screen, we want them to be blown away, because a lot of people have never seen their content on screens this size before. Yeah. And we wanted to make sure that experience for them was basically, you know, life-changing kind of thing. We wanted them to get the best experience from it as possible.
Well, not only that screen was massive, the sound system was crazy because, we were upstairs not getting to watch a lot of this stuff, and it was vibrating my teeth. I mean, that's how subsonic a lot of this stuff was. So how many watts per second and how many speakers are we talking about?
Honestly, I'm not sure what the full sound system was. I know that under the front stage, we had talked about where they were going to put the speakers, and we had kind of started getting into that discussion, and ironically, the guy who runs the warehouse, or the performance works that we're in, his name is Myles as well. So you don't get a lot of them, and all of a sudden there's two of them. And the funny thing was, the guy who's in the head of the IT department was Lucas, and my son is Lucas. So Myles and Lucas were working together, and anyways, and then in the backstage,
meant to be.
Exactly. So, but what he did is he told us, don't worry about the sound levels and stuff. I've got this speaker set up here. We know how to set things up so that the sound's going to come across really nice. He said, well, one thing we do have, if you want them, is we've got these giant subwoofer speakers. We can put those underneath the stage if you want. I'm like, oh yeah, please, let's get
animal more.
I want when they've got a rumbling, a subsonic feel to their web series. When it comes across a headphone, they get a little bit of bass, but when it's in the theater, I want it to shake their seats.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, you definitely got that.
Full experience. Yeah.
Very cinematic.
Very cinematic, and like, especially on the quiet parts, were so crisp and quiet, and you could hear the dialogue. And on the big, scary, wonderful parts and the horrors and the thrillers, man, when the shoe would fall, as it were, awesome. Like, would really wake you up. And again, Bob and I spent a lot of time interviewing around the event, and it would immediately be drawn to it. You would hear something, and you would just be drawn to it and go, "Oh wow!" Cool. So I saw 30 seconds of just about everything, and was very compelled to stay, but schedule-wise couldn't. It's very transformative. And speaking back to what you said about their babies, I had conversations with people at last year's event and this year's event, and I always ask them that question: what's it like to see your film up on a big screen? And everybody, it blew them away. They didn't understand why they were doing it or what they were doing sometimes until they saw that and saw a real live audience laugh at the jokes at the right time, jump at the right places. You created not just with Suzette and Paula a great event, but the experience, a very visceral experience of entertainment. So hats off to you, my friend.
Thank you so much. You're making me blush a little bit. No, I appreciate it, but like I said, honestly, we just wanted to make sure that for these people, it was a wonderful experience to watch themselves on the screen. And like you said, they develop it for the small screen, and so they never get a chance to see other people sitting in their home office watching this on the laptop. But if they can sit in the audience and they can feel the feedback, and that's one of the things that I was talking to one of the creators, Mike from Mr. Ginger, and he was saying, that was just such a great thing to see people laughing at the parts that I thought were funny, Yeah. So that's one of the things I love. Sorry, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask you because we did a little pre-show thing about a week before the fest started, and you've loaded everything up on Dropbox, and I'm wondering, are you planning on continuing to use Dropbox because the upload time is brutally long? The download time's not so bad. Is it working for you?
We've run into some complications with Dropbox, and we're actually looking for different methodologies of content delivery now. One of our challenges this year is we bought 5 terabytes of storage. And we thought, okay, that's going to be enough to hold everything. And it was, by a long shot. We still got a ton of empty space. But when we share a folder with someone, we say to somebody who has a series, okay, here's your folder. Yeah. We share it with them. Well, suddenly they're limited to whatever they're limited to. So if they've only got 2 gigabytes, now they're limited to 2 gigabytes. And if they've already got 1.5 gigabytes on their Dropbox, suddenly they're full and they can't get the stuff to us. So a lot of people were sending stuff to us via WeTransfer, and I was saving it onto Dropbox. And so, the sync times, it's nice that you can link Dropbox and then forget about it, and it'll sync on its own. And that's one of the things that was good, because as people were delivering content to us, it was something that basically we didn't have to worry about it. It was basically send them their their directory and forget about it. But the problem then, once we started experiencing issues with storage, that was where it was a bit of a downer. So, yeah, I'm not 100% sure, and that is one of the things as well. Like you had mentioned, speeds. I'm not sure what the different services are, like how their speeds compare, but that's one of my jobs this year. Is I'm going to be looking at different methodologies of delivering the content.
Well, you know what? We were talking to Paul and Suzette earlier, and they said that Google might be a sponsor, and that might be somebody you want to talk to and say, look, why don't you set up a special Google Drive for us
and
that can handle something like that.
80, give us 80% of your North American bandwidth, and that'd be great.
Hey, these are the guys that are they're getting into the bandwidth business, and they're selling terabyte up and terabyte down. So compared to you pay several $1,000s, you may get a terabyte down, but you're not getting a terabyte up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What did you notice in terms of challenges getting into the new building versus the last building you were in? Did you find this one easier, more complicated, or taking on all that you're taking on now in terms of being the IT guy and the delivery system?
Are you speaking about just like IT-wise?
Yeah, in terms of your setup. Last year you seemed to be much smaller. It just by look to me, but I may be misremembering, versus this year you had quite a nice little corner set up for you and quite a large little setup.
Yeah, and one of the things, like last year, like I said, when we went into the other venue, they actually had all of their stuff down. Well, like we hired their IT crew to do everything. So I didn't actually run any of the blocks. They ran them themselves. I gave them the Blu-rays. They hit play. So I basically provided the content to them on a Blu-ray, and they took care of, like I told them, this logo goes up first, then you go the sponsor roll, and Blu-ray goes in between, and so everything worked out fine that way. But I didn't have to touch a piece of software. So they had their audio bank set up, and they had their video connections set up. They already had their projector installed, and they had their screen already set up. So there was none of that worry. The new venue, we showed up, and we were told they had a 16-foot by 12-foot screen, which sounded like a pretty decent size. So we went in there, and it turned out what it was is it was a 12-foot wide screen that could drop down 16 feet. So it was actually kind of the wrong aspect ratio. So that made the width of it 12 feet wide, which is just not acceptable. We couldn't have a screen that small. So we actually built the screen that you guys saw.
Oh, wow.
We mounted, I'm not sure, because I'm not a grip or anything, I'm not sure of the exact terms for everything, but they had these metal poles that we mounted on the side. We got a screen from White's, WF White's. We lashed it up, and then they anchored it onto the support structures, tied it really tight so we could get any kind of the creases out. Then we put blacks on the top. We hung curtains on the top and hung curtains on the bottom off of rails, so that it created a blackout region and it looked like a good screen. The projector, interestingly enough, they were supposed to have this absolutely kick-ass projector come in, and we were so excited, and then they ordered it. It arrived in Los Angeles, and the LA docks went on strike. So their projector is actually still in LA.
A year later. Ow.
Yeah. So they had set this thing, like they had this little tiny, I'm not going to say rinky-dink because it's a very good projector, but for the space, for the size of screen we wanted, it wasn't very powerful. So what they did for us, and kudos to them, is they went and from another venue stole the projector because it wasn't being used. So they stole it and mounted it to the ceiling for us and ran all the cabling. So we had a pretty decent quality projector.
Huh. Nice. Now, comparing that to this year, where they've done a lot of this stuff before, they supplied everything.
Mm-hmm.
You had a really nice screen. You had a really nice projector pre-mounted. It was kind of like you come in and all the cabling's figured out. I mean, we went to the back and they had a whole room full of stands and stuff. I mean, they had so much equipment at this new venue. It was amazing.
Yeah, Bob, he was talking about this year versus last year a bit there. Last year they had everything self-contained, and this year was a little more complex. Tell me a little bit about the the technology partners that you have in this. You know, this is your opportunity to name drop a little bit in terms of, you know, people who have helped you besides the venue. And of course, we're talking about Performance Works down at Granville Island, an amazing venue there, and great people. You know, this is your little opportunity to gush a bit about people who helped you in terms of technology, and even some of the people who helped you get everything going. Who were your volunteers or your co-workers?
Well, there was, I mean, honestly, the guy who ran the IT portion of the show, Ryan Catherwood, he's part of the VWF team, and he was amazing. He took care of all of the details and stuff, and he's been in the industry for a long time. So there's a lot of stuff that I don't know about that he was taking care of that was amazing. Yeah, and the Performance Works crew were amazing. I worked with 4 different tech personnel. It was Katja and Lucas, and unfortunately, I can't remember the name of one of the other girls, Heather, I think it might have been. Anyways, they were fantastic. They knew their stuff. They were running all the audio. So I was sitting in my corner. I was in charge of all the video stuff, and I could stream my audio from there. But they controlled all the lighting, all the audio balancing, all the, you know, they need this speaker up, that speaker down. They want speakers on in the lobby. You know, we wanted music out in the lobby, so we got an iPad or iPod, loaded it up with about 5 hours worth of music, and just plugged it into a little jack and streamed it into their panel, and they just pumped the sound out to the. So anytime we were between blocks, when you could hear music, we were running it off an iPod.
Yeah, and they had music in the bathrooms too, which was fantastic. Yeah. So you know, so just in case you needed a little help.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and it was. I mean, they were really amazing in helping us out, and I mean, and honestly, without all, I gotta say to all the volunteers, we had just an amazing crew of volunteers who came, and people spent an entire day setting up those chairs, like those. Suzette got those red chairs, and because she couldn't have, we went to the venue last year that had the red chairs, and that kind of became our trademark. People were blown away by the fact that we had free popcorn and these big comfy red chairs. So she really wanted to have that this year, and we talked about renting it from various people, and they were just really expensive to rent, so we thought, screw it, and we ordered like 75 red chairs and had them delivered to the venue. But then the volunteers had to assemble these things, and they put in all day putting these things together. It was fantastic. I mean, and then of course on the breakdown they were tearing things down, and we had to get out. We shut down the party at 11, and we're still trying to kick people out at midnight, but we had to be out of the venue completely at 1 a.m. So we, so we were done, trucks loaded and everything done, and the venue was clean by 1 a.m.
Wow.
Nice. So like a full-on location production, just out of town once you're done.
Breakdown and gone.
Nice.
So, but yeah, so go ahead.
I was going to say that the red chairs are so gorgeous, not just in terms of sitting them for the people watching, but when they would do the panels up on stage, they looked fantastic. It gave this kind of, you know, really chic professionalism. It is becoming iconic as it's tied to it. And you also had these really cool. You guys had a lounge outside and a tent, and you had these lit up. Tell me a little bit about these You had these balls and eggs and chairs and tables that all lit up.
Yeah, they're really cool. It's from a company called Atomic 2 Furniture, and they came on as sponsors this year. We rented some stuff, and then they also provided us with a ton of stuff. And we were looking for something to go outside. We wanted to create a lounge kind of atmosphere outside, and we weren't exactly sure how we were going to do that. We may change some things about that next year, but one of the things they came in with was this LED furniture, which was awesome. It was remote controlled. It had the ability to cycle through, I think it's 16 million colors. It had like the 4 primary colors, and you can set it up or 3 primary colors, and you can set it up for just about any color you wanted. And then you can set it on pulse, which actually was borderline epileptic causing. So we didn't use that one, but it was. They had this fade function, which was really cool. They just cycle through all the colors, and it was really neat. And then we had these little dragon egg type things, and yeah, they'd glow, and we used them as lighting around the theater, which was really cool. They created a really cool, funky sort of atmosphere. You know, as you walk in, they look really neat. We set a lot of them to red, and it looked really neat. You know, black curtains, red chairs, red lights.
Yeah, great accents. They were amazing, and it really helped moving around in the dark while the show's
Yeah,
going on. It was
exactly. Yeah.
amazing to see.
Yeah, so we got lucky with them. They were really good in like I said, they're called Atomic 2 Furniture, and I think they have a lot more stuff than just the stuff we had. So if anyone's listening, they want to check them out. They're a great rental place. So not sure what the cost is, but I wasn't involved in that part of the thing. So.
Tell us a little bit about your background and what you do in terms of your job and why you got so excited to be a part of this and the experience.
Yeah, 9 to 5. I am a project manager for software installs. I do large-scale software installs for stuff called ERP software, and I don't know if you guys know what that means, but the initials don't really mean a lot. It stands for Enterprise Resource Planning Software, and it's the software that controls a company. It controls their finances and their inventory and their preventive maintenance on their heavy-duty equipment. And so that's what I've done for a long time. And what I've always loved to do as a hobby was videography. So I love to play on, I got this nonlinear editor, and I love to play on there. I make home movies of my son growing up and things, but I do it like I kind of really go that extra yard and try and make it look, borderline professional. And every time you do it, you learn something else, something a little newer. And you're talking about what made me so excited to do this, and I guess one of the things that made me so excited to do this is that Suzette told me I had to. So, and I don't know if you guys know Suzette. Basically, when she asks you to do something, she's like the Borg. Resistance is futile. You just end up doing it. So you might as well just accept now because you're going to end up doing it anyways. Nice. But no, I actually found it really, really kind of fun. I mean, as I started doing it, we didn't really know what my role would be the first year. I knew I was going to help her. I was her IT/video helper guy. But it worked out basically as I was going. I started discovering I could do this. I just started discovering I could do that, and I could help her in a way that would make the festival better, which made me excited. I wanted to make it as good a festival for her and for the people who were providing the content as possible, and especially. Once you started to meet the people who started showing up at the festival, and they're such amazing people, and it just made me feel happy that I put in that extra effort to try and make their content play as well as possible. So yeah, but there was a lot of learning involved. Like I had no idea what was involved in making Blu-rays when I first started, and I went through probably 15 discs trying to make sure that I got the setup right and that things looked good on the screen and that the audio levels were coming up properly. And so, but it ended up in the end it worked out. And this year I actually screwed up something as well, and that's I didn't leave enough of a black lead-in on the Blu-ray. So you hit play and then they play like right now. And I was trying to time that properly, and I just couldn't get the timing. We couldn't turn it on, get it playing, and have it in the black spot and just hit pause. We had to flip over. So that's something for next year. I'm going to remember that we have to leave a black spot in the beginning so that I can cue things up properly. So, yeah, I mean, it's just been a kind of a passion of mine, photography and videography, and to be honest, I mean, I was actually just about joined one of Bob's photography groups or photography classes this year because it's basically of the pictures that he took last year's festival. But that's been something that's always been a passion of mine. So it was really cool to get a chance to use that in a quote unquote professional type manner, because I'm a total noob at this, and it was neat to try and get a chance to play, really.
Well, you definitely got a chance to impress a heck of a lot of people. Really, it felt like overall, it felt like a classic Hollywood experience. I mean, you go in there and it looked amazing, and the vibrance of the screen. I didn't get to see it a lot, but I remember the award ceremonies. God, I was like, oh my gosh, that looks very authentic.
Well, that's funny because last year in the award ceremony, what we had was we had the logos come in for the screen. When they say the nominees are, we had the logo come in, and there was like some stars going around on the bottom, and then it would go off, and then the next logo would come in for the series, and I did the same thing for this year, and it looked okay. It looked reasonable. And then I watched the Oscars, and I thought to myself, damn it. I
the
can
guy
do
is being
that.
paid $200,000 to create this. I gotta copy that.
I know, exactly. So I did. I went and actually, here's where I got to toss out a little name dropping, and I went to a website online called Raven Pro Design, and this guy or girl, whoever they are, or team, they create these free templates that do these really, really amazing introductions for stuff. And what I did is, one of the great things is you can download them for free. They say you can use them as long as you credit them with it. So I'm crediting them now, and also they're a sponsor on our website. But what I was able to do is I was able to reverse engineer what they did. I took it into my nonlinear editor and took a look at the stuff that they did. And I thought, oh, okay, that's how that works. Okay, now maybe I can do this, and I can twist it that way, and I can tweak this and make that work this way. And what we ended up doing, is we redesigned everything from the ground up. And of course, I had still had it so that it did all this stuff, but it was quiet. And Suzette's like, no, you can't have it quiet. I want some music. I want some kind of cool music to it. So I actually have this piece of software called Smart Sound. And it basically, what you do is you can pick from different types of music, or like genres of music, or they've got what you can do is you can click on a type of music or an example of it, and then you can say, I want this to be 3 minutes and 35 seconds long. And it will generate a chunk of music that's royalty-free, 3 minutes and 35 seconds long, that uses this theme. It's remarkable. It's beautiful. And so what I did is use that to help generate some of this robust music stuff. And I'd never had a chance to use. I'd always used like little quirky things, because I got really tired of posting something on YouTube and having them immediately yank the soundtrack because it violated copyright. So I started playing with this, and this is the first time I got a chance to use some of the really robust, nice cinematic themes, it was really fun.
Well, it definitely made it more like a Hollywood experience, having that doom.
Yeah,
it was amazing. Now, are you planning next year having specially sound effects going in there for the movements, like whoosh and pa-cha?
Well, I'll take that as a note, and yeah, we could definitely. No, there's all sorts of really cool things like cymbal hits and drum. And actually, I don't know if you noticed when the screening blocks came on, when the first thing that comes on was this flame that kind of shoots across, like a blue one and an orange one come across different directions, and the VWF logo transforms out of that. So we built that and had that, and we put some sound effects to the back of that. And every year we kind of pick a song, like a theme song kind of thing, and that will be the theme song that we use for our official selection video. We make an official selection video, which is one of the things that I get to do as well. So once we get all of our official selections decided, I get all the logos for those. Yeah. And I create this official selection video that we post online so that people can watch and they can see, oh, there goes their logo for their series, and there goes a logo for someone else's series. But you get to see every series that's in the thing. And so basically, go ahead.
Are you also cutting the screening block trailers? Are you cutting those as well?
Yeah, I made the screening block trailers as well. So
you're choosing a scene out of each one of those and cutting it in, or are they giving you pieces and then you're putting them together?
Yes, both of those. Basically,
nice.
What we said is we wanted when they submit their stuff, we wanted a 15-second clip. So if they won, we could play the 15-second clip up on the screen. Nice. We wanted like a 1 and 30-second trailer, so we could put this. We didn't really know what we were going to do with the 1 and 30-second trailer when we first got it. And then we decided we also wanted, their full-length series. So I'm going to say probably half of the people provided us with a trailer and a short clip, and the other half didn't really do anything. So what we ended up having to do then was, when we decided kind of last minute, wouldn't it be cool? Oh, wouldn't it be cool if we could do this trailer block, so that once we get the blocks, we know what the schedules are. We create this thing so that people can click on it and they can see the actual trailers for the. So we thought, well, that's how we're going to do it. And then we thought as well, because a gentleman who came to the festival last year. I don't know if you remember last year. We put out a thing that said Suzette and Paula created 5 or 6 questions after the end of last festival, and said, we'd like to get some video responses from people. You know, what did you like least about the festival? What did you like most about the festival? What surprised you about the festival? What would you like to see next year? And one of the things that a gentleman out of Springfield, Missouri said is he would love to see a TV in the lobby somewhere that ran trailers for stuff that was coming up so that he could see what was going to be coming. And we thought to ourselves, what a great idea that is. So we actually took his suggestion to heart, amongst a bunch of other people's, but that particular suggestion, we then actually had a TV in the lobby right beside the bar, where you could be, you know, you'd get your beer and there's this TV, a little 26-inch, actually I guess he has 26 or 30-inch TV, playing trailers for all the different blocks. So you could see what was coming up at different times. So the total runtime of just the trailers for all of the 9 blocks was 1 hour and 10 minutes. So if you had 1 hour and 10 minutes to stand around and take a look at advertisements, the trailers, but it was really neat because then you got to see, you know, and you got to see all the different clips and even the series that I didn't get a chance to watch, because that's one of the things that's really interesting. And I got to say, one of the things that I found surprising about this is that when I first got into this, Suzette created her web series. She went down to LA Webfest. I didn't know anything about this, so I kind of got the feeling that I didn't even know about web series, but the web series I did know about, I thought were, you know, people on their handy cams or with their iPhones and they're filming stuff. And then I got to see some of the stuff, the content that's submitted in our first year, and I was like, holy crap, this is beautiful. Some of these things were just so beautifully shot. And yeah, so it was a really great experience that way. So one of my problems is that when I was doing a lot of the stuff, I would start to, you know, I'd be looking for a clip that I could put into the trailer block, and I would start getting lost in the series. Like, I started looking for something I could do for Gary Saves the Graveyard, and that was my favorite by far series this year. I just loved Gary Saves the Graveyard. But I watched the trailer for that, trying to put it in the trailer block, and I just had to stop work and go watch 20 minutes of episodes online because it was just fantastic. So. Yeah,
I think Bob and I had the same experience in terms of we did a panel review show, and that was definitely, we had a top 5, and that was in there. Another one was Whatever, Linda, and the quality was just amazing, where you're just compelled to watch more, like watching one episode, just compelled.
Exactly. There was some of the scenes in Whatever, Linda that were just so beautiful. Like there was this one scene where there was smoke. She was blowing smoke between her and her partner, and it was like a blue light overhead, and it was just the way they'd shot it was just beautiful. It was fantastic. But yeah, and even like that's one of the things that I want to play with and have fun with is shooting video. So when I see people shooting beautiful, beautiful scenes, it's like, you know, you try and take it to heart and try and figure out what they're doing to make this remarkable looking scene, because you're watching what these guys have created and it just is so emotional. You're looking at the screen and just the way they've shot it invokes your emotion. So yeah, that's go ahead.
Well, I love the setup. Pardon me, Bob.
Yeah, no, I totally relate to that whole conversation, because I remember, you know, having to watch these 12 web series and saying, but I want to watch what's happening next, and I don't want to watch the next. And then I was 3/4 of the way through the next one. It's like, oh, hang on, this is really good. I want to watch this. It's kind of like reading those novels that each chapter is slightly different, and you get pissed off that it's not continuing. But by the time you get to the end of that paragraph, chapter, it's like you're really excited about what's going on, then it snaps back to, and by the time you get to the end, it's like, oh my god, I just can't consume this stuff fast enough.
Yeah, yeah, and that's one of the things that I found as a challenge this year, is that there's so many good good series that is submitted, but in trying to get set up for the festival, I couldn't watch 900 minutes of content. It's just not possible.
So in terms of the outcome, it's a week later. You've had a little bit of sleep. Your life has gotten back to a bit of normal. Uh, how do you feel about how it went compared to last year and this year? And do you already have a list of changes? You've mentioned some already, but is there anything that kind of stands out, like, you know what, I want to do better next year, or what you really learned, the kind of successes and failures?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a few things. I've actually already started working on some designs for next year's award ceremony for the way that things flow through, because I just can't leave it alone. It's just now it's fun to play, you know?
Yeah.
I'm a bit of an OCD geek, so I get in there and I got to make it perfect. I have to play. But no, there's definitely some tweaks and things that we're going to be making backstage this year. And the great thing about this is last year, after that year, we didn't know where we were going to be going. So we ended up securing this venue, and we showed up not knowing what to expect at all. So we showed up for some advanced checking out of the venue, but you didn't get a chance to really play with it until, Thursday night, when things were finally set up and running, and you're doing a couple of quick run-throughs as people were assembling the chairs. But now we have a feeling for this space, and we have it already booked for next year. So,
Nice.
Now I've got these ideas in my head of how we can do things and how we can set up, because I think next year, one of our big failings this year was we had, and this is not so much a technical thing as it was a communication thing, the Vancouver Web Fest considers all series that submit to be official nominees in their genre. So if you are accepted into the series under the genre of comedy, you're an official nominee for that genre. And the first year we had the main genres, and then only a couple of groups are outside of that: best actor and best actor, best actress, and best overall, best foreign, best Canadian. But we didn't announce any official nominees. If you were an official selection, you were in the series or in the festival. And this year we actually had cinematography and original score and screenplay. So what we did is we created the list of nominees. The nominees were for each of those outside of the genre awards, with the understanding that if you're in the series, or if you're in the festival, you're automatically nominated for your genre.
Yeah.
But that didn't get communicated, because what we didn't realize is that a lot of festivals, when they say official selection, they mean, well, you're not up for any awards, but we'll screen you at the festival, but you're not up for any awards. So what happened was we had communication afterwards with, one of the things that was astounding to me is I'm behind the tech booth, and people are coming up on stage or accepting awards, and they're like, "Oh my God, I had no idea I was even nominated." And it was like, oh my God, we kind of fell down there. We didn't. So, and we've talked to a bunch of people afterwards who, yeah, they would have come to the festival, but they had no idea they were even nominees in their genre. So that's one of the big things we've got to change. We've already started working on that. What we did do is we sent out official nominee laurels to every series that was in the festival after this, because we wanted them to understand that even though they didn't win, that they were official nominees in their genre. So now hopefully they can use the official selection laurels and the official nominee for best comedy or best drama or whatever.
Or overall, because they all are entered into overall as well.
So
at least 2 awards for every single show: their genre and overall, and then any specific technical awards or specific awards.
Exactly.
And that's a reason for somebody to show up. I mean, you're nominated, you want to show up. It's a really great thing to clarify and to put out there, because especially how many selections do you guys go through originally? In terms of
the one, what did we start off with the original number of submissions you're talking about? Well, there was like over 200 submissions. And then that got narrowed down by the pre-screeners, and then it got narrowed down by the programmers, and then finally the judges ended up with the programmers decided the official 63 selections that were going to be in the festival, and those were then forwarded on to the judges, and the judges judged those. So that was a big challenge there, and I think one of the things that we talked about with our web series that made it in this year, is that we realized they have communicated to us, some of them, the ones that didn't come, or a good number of the ones that didn't come, if we had known, we would have been there. And so now we're thinking, okay, so this year in a lot of times we were almost standing room only. Okay, so maybe we're going to need to expand the seating area next year. We're going to have to make things a little bigger, because we had it closed off in a really cool little theater sort of little vibe, and you had this walk around area on the outside. You had the step and repeat out there, and you had where people could stop and get their pictures. But when the screenings were on, all the lights shut down anyway, so that people could focus on what was going on. So that was one of our issues, is we had visions for how that outside area was going to be used, and then it didn't really get used for that, which is not a big deal, but because it couldn't be used for that during the screenings because of light bleed. And one of the things that we'll definitely be using this year is we'll be pulling those curtains back that are there, or not even hanging them, and we'll be expanding the seating area. Who knows, we may end up having to bring in more red chairs. So
that's a nice problem to have.
Yeah, exactly.
That could work out really well. I mean, the other thing that didn't really get utilized a lot was the tent, and I think it's because there wasn't that division between stuff. And I think if you went in there and it was like all theater and all dark, and then you came out and you had a tent covering much more area, and have that whole hallway where people were kind of gathered, and start pushing people into the tents more, it might have made a big difference.
And I completely agree with you there, Bob. And that's one of the things that we realized as well, that tent area, it didn't match our vision, or I should say it didn't match Suzette's vision. She had this idea of what she wanted that area to be, this great big tented lounge area where people could go and hang out and just relax, and it ended up not being utilized nearly as much as we had hoped. And I think part of that was because of the way the tent was set up and the size of the tent. It felt kind of small in there.
Oh yeah, really small. Yeah.
So that's one of the things we're taking a look at as well, is that how we can deal with that in a better way. And honestly, we had somebody had acquired some tents in the beginning, and Suzette followed up with the company where we had gotten the tents, and we found out they were little tiny, like at a community show or something, or like a sidewalk fair. There's those little tiny tents with the 4 poles and the little roof on them.
Yeah.
That was what was secured, and I was like, oh my God, no, that's not going to work. We need to.
No, it's like a wedding thing, like where you have like 400 people can go into it type of thing, like a massive tent, and then have the doors open.
Yeah, exactly, out of the back of the theater, and we'll have because you can open the doors out of the back of the theater, so what we can do is we can even have black drapes hung there, and just have you be able to walk through the black drapes into this big open area because what we wanted people to be able to do is to be able to get a beer. They want to take a break from the screening, they can grab a beer, grab some popcorn, go hang out in the lounge for a little bit, and just chill, or go grab a bite to eat, sit in the lounge, eat, and then head out.
Well, I think I think what happened is the whole of Granville Island became the tent because it was so sunny and beautiful.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm just gonna hang out outside because it's actually warmer outside than in the tent. So but if it was pissing down with rain and miserable, that tent would have been packed with people. Guaranteed.
Yeah. Fair enough, but I completely agree with you in the fact that it didn't live up to our expectations. We had a much grander vision for that area, and it ended up being a little tent just outside. So
okay. Hey, live and learn. I mean,
exactly.
that hallway was a fantastic place to hang out between shows, and it could get a little bit crowded, and during the parties it got packed.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with a nice crowded room compared to like a big vast room with nobody in it. And
that was one of the things that you never know how things are going to go. We didn't want to. One of the things we're terrified about is that you show up on day one and there's you and 3 or 4 other people there, and that's the way it goes for the weekend. But thank God we had a really good, especially what we were worried about last year. We had I don't know if you guys remember that, but right up until the Friday, it was beautiful. It was like 30 degrees. It was fantastic. And Suzette, made a prayer to the weather gods, who, of course, she's the Borg. You can't resist. So they. The Friday that things started kicking off, the Friday evening, it started to rain Friday night, and it really didn't let up. It just drizzled and rained and drizzled and rained all weekend long until Sunday night. It culminated with a massive downpour that ended at 2 a.m. And I know because we were packing stuff into our house at 2 o'clock in the morning and just getting drenched. But
But
yeah. So go ahead.
I think because of the rain last year, there was much more activity happening inside the venue, and people go out and then they'd rush back in, right?
Yeah.
They're kind of trapped in that zone. But this year, you came out and it was like you could go hundreds and hundreds of meters in any direction, and everything was cool.
And it was fantastic. That was one of the problems that we had last year, is that people they didn't know where to go to grab a bite to eat or anything. And we had the Granville Public Market. You can just whip over to the public market. You have a huge array of food you can get, little restaurants everywhere, and then you can come back.
Yeah.
It was great.
Perfect location for you guys. JD, do you have a couple last questions before we wrap up the show?
In terms of the technology that you're using and that you're developing, now that your role has expanded, are you going to spend this year looking for even cooler, neater toys? Are you already spending money in your head?
Yes, I'm always spending money in my head.
Okay.
I have a purchasing approval department, though. That was one of the fun things when I was single. I could buy whatever I wanted whenever I wanted it. Now I buy whatever I want whenever I'm allowed to.
Nice.
But yeah, as far as the web festival goes, we're definitely going to be making investments. We're going to be using, I think, a lot of the same tools that we have. But I mean, one of the things that I really liked about I loved the LED furniture, and I'm hoping we can expand on that theme with a much bigger tent, and hopefully something. I mean, the furniture was great, but it was a little clunky on the bum. It was a little hard in some places. So, but I would love to expand on that idea. But as far as what I need for next year for doing the technical stuff, I think I'm going to be. I don't know if I'm going to be spending any money unless we've got everything we need. But I'm already starting to play in developing new ways of doing stuff. I mean, we got off pretty cheap this year with some of the stuff we were able to do because, like we purchased like that. The official selections video. It was actually a template that we purchased. It was like $19, so it was fantastic. And then, unfortunately, took the first year. I used a piece of software. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of something called Movie Auto Producer. It was this great piece of software. Still is. It's called Movie Reveal. But when I bought it at the time, it was $19. And what you do is you take a bunch of pictures and you put it in the software. You take a piece of music and you put it in the software and you say, "Make me a movie," and it goes whoop, and it does it all for you. And it creates these beautiful stuff with fantastic transitions. Then you say, "I want a different style. I want it to be more lively. I want it to react to the music more." You can make all these things happen, and that's how we did our first year nominees video, and it worked out great. But this year we wanted to step up the production value of that a little, so we ended up working on this template. And unfortunately, it turned out to be very cool, but it took a lot more of my time.
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, it actually worked out really well with fairly minimal expenditures. Luckily, I had a lot of the stuff that I already needed in my pocket, kind of thing. So I'm hoping that we can get away without spending too much money. But I mean, if we gotta, we gotta.
Yeah.
You got a budget for that massive tent.
That's right, exactly. So that's actually one of the things I know they're looking for right away. Is they're looking for immediately. Suzette, of course, gets out and starts. She can't stop. I'm trying to get her to take some time off. But she's already looking for new sponsors who can come in with match her vision for what she thinks the outside should look like versus what it was, because that's one of the big areas for her where she wanted to change things. So, but
maybe a couple of the Olympic tent companies that came in, because there were some big festival tents that were happening with the beer tents were amazing.
Yeah,
the Coca-Cola tent was amazing too.
Yeah, maybe they've got the Coca-Cola tent tucked away. Maybe we can bring Coca-Cola on as a sponsor next year. That'd be awesome.
Mm-hmm. Ron Cokes.
Yeah.
Can't go wrong with that. Thanks for coming on the show. It's great to get some technical background, because a lot of people were so in awe of what they were experiencing. They were basically blown away. How the heck did these guys do that? So it's great to be able to dig down and find out how you did it. I'm sure we're going to get a lot of feedback on this, and I cannot wait until what's going to happen next year and see how you can even. I mean, it's almost perfect already. So you're putting yourself a huge challenge, challenge, dude.
Thanks, Matt. It's a good position to be in, though, to be impressing people to the point where you're not sure what you're going to do next year to impress them. I'd much rather be in that position rather than on the other end of the spectrum where you have nowhere to go but up. So
yes.
So yeah, no, we were very happy with the way that things worked out, and I was just really glad that Suzette kept pushing me for. She had this vision of how she wanted her festival to be, and like I said, the people who come in with their web series, these are all their babies, but the festival itself is Suzette's baby. So she, aside from our real baby, but she basically had this vision of how she wanted things to go, and yeah, we're just really happy with the way things worked out.
Cool. So, now, if for people that want to reach out to you, they love what you're doing. How can they get a hold of you? Should they go through we got the
website. We got the website, and underneath there on the team, I am down near the bottom, as I should be, down at the back behind a curtain. And my email address is on there, and it's just Myles with a Y, MYLES at VancouverWebFest.com. So if you got any questions or anything like that, I'd be happy to answer them if I can.
What type of volunteers would you like to step up that would help you do your job?
Help me do my job? Video editors are always great. That's one of the things that we're finding, of course, now is that we've got a plethora of photos and videos, and now it's all got to be edited and mixed and put together, and it's great to have people who are able to do that. I know we've got some people who are stepping up this year, but that's always something that's very much appreciated. But honestly, I guess like I said, I'm a little OCD on this in that I feel like unless I can get my fingers on it, I'm not sure if it's going to turn out the way I want. So I'm not at a point yet where I'm not sure if I feel comfortable enough to release this yet. Once we get it to going a little more, I can step back, I guess, a little. But at this point, I think it's going to be me for a while trying to make sure that I can deliver Suzette's vision, because we have a methodology of communication, which basically involves her telling me what to do and me doing it.
A lot of ducking and weaving on your part.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, so far it's working pretty good, and now, I mean, one of the challenges after last year's festival, I kind of went, okay, we're done for now, and I can take a break. And then the festivals or the series started coming in, and I started, thinking about how I wanted to do things. And I think this year I'm going to start biting or eating this elephant one bite at a time, but I'm going to start in like a few months. I'm going to set up some templates for how I'm going to deal with things in a video. The screening blocks was like the trailers, not something we'd ever done before. Now we've kind of got a template for that, so hopefully we can just plug and play with a bit of that stuff. I mean, it won't be totally perfect, but it'll be a lot easier than having to come up with things from scratch. So yeah, hopefully things will work out. And one of the things we are going to be doing right now is we do have the videos posted on the website. Not the video. We have the winners posted on the website on the homepage, which is VancouverWebFest.com. But what we're going to be doing is we're going to be putting these award ceremony trailers on there, and the nominees are videos. So what's going to happen is right beside the winner, there's going to be a link to say watch the actual award ceremony footage here. So you click on it, and it'll come up in Daily Motion or whatever, and it'll say it'll have the nominees are, and it'll scroll through with the cinematic music, and then it'll say and the winner is, and it'll show the clip from the winner, so that you can actually see what happened at the festival.
Nice.
So,
are you guys also going to have some of the panels and some of the workshops up later on?
The workshops themselves we did not record this year. As those were pay-per-view, we wanted if you were going to come and watch it and stuff, then for sure come and check it out. The panels themselves, we did record all the panels just as we did last year, and we haven't gotten the footage back from that yet. The footage and the audio, like the video and the audio yet, but so there may be a couple of challenges. But our full intent is to post all of the panels online every year, because our goal is to assist the web series community in any way that we can to push their content forward. We want to give them the exposure, but then we also want to try and create this atmosphere where, it's a fostering atmosphere where we can assist in any way we can. And when we have professionals come in from all over the place, and like we had some amazing panels this year, we can get if we can promote that and get these people on with their permission, of course, get them online and get the video out there so that people can get all the content from the panel just online for free. That's the way we want it. So, I mean, the web series themselves are free to watch. So hopefully we can make the content to make better web series free to watch. So,
nice.
Awesome. So, JD, let's wrap up this baby.
Well, thank you so much, Myles. It's been an absolute pleasure. It's exciting to talk technical stuff. I hope everybody's interested. Look into all the software and all the techniques he used. Take a listen and look for it. Thank you so much, Myles, for being here. It was an absolute pleasure. Thanks to Vancouver Web Fest 2015. It was at Granville Island Performance Works, and I hear the dates are set, so it's March 18th through 2016, and the hashtags, of course, VWF 2015 and VWF 2016 for next year. Thank you, folks, for listening. Go make a great day.